Hey y'all, this is Kylie from Wild Lemon Fitness. Thanks so much for joining us in our online studio. Let's work out. Today we're gonna do a little Pilates mat workout, and we're gonna utilize some props. So if you don't have these props at home, you don't actually need the props. It's just kind of nice to facilitate movement and wake up muscles. So today I'm gonna be using a TheraBand and a little soft ball down there. But we're gonna start with the TheraBands doing some standing work. So let's wake up our shoulders. Place those feet right underneath our hips. We're gonna have a soft bend in the knees and reach that band straight out front. Think about sliding those shoulders down and back, and we're just gonna pull that band apart and resist it close. Taking some big deep breaths. If you're not familiar with Ron Fletcher, he's one of the Pilates elders that brought Pilates to Hollywood to a bunch of celebrities. And he did a lot of towel work. So a lot of the exercises we're doing today to wake up these shoulders are inspired by Mr. Ron Fletcher. Let's do 4. Really starting to wake up that mid-back. Abs are in, 2. And last 1, we're gonna send this band up overhead, and we're dragging down with one side and resisting that band back up, and then switching sides. So you're gonna feel this stretch along the back of your rib cage, those lats and obliques. Little intercostal muscles between the ribs, waking everything up. And if you find pretty quickly that pulling down on this band on one shoulder feels really challenging, please be really, really gentle on that shoulder. Do not take that as a challenge to try to work through the pain, okay? Let's do 3. Good. One more set, all the way down. Waking everything up. Nice. Reach those hands overhead. Big inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Wiggle out those knees. And then around through the spine. Come all the way up to standing. Slide those shoulders down and back. We're going to heel toe those feet to a little wide second position here for all my dancers out there. Hands are out. Shoulders are down and back. We're going to pull that band apart and just bend down into that little sumo squat. And resist it up. So we're keeping tension on the band for those pretty little posture muscles. And just adding a little movement to that low body. Sitting down deep in that squat. Let's do 5. Think about what muscles are working here to inform this movement. 2. We're gonna stay down on this last one. Pull that band apart a little bit further, lifting that right heel and lower. Lift the left heel and lower. I'm already shaking. Hopefully you are too. Don't leave me alone in this. If you're sitting there eating popcorn, watching me work out and not working out with me, I'll come find you. Just kidding, I won't. You can do whatever you want. Lifting and lowering. One more time to each side. Waking everything up. We're gonna lift both heels and lower. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Stand all the way up, heel toe those feet. Back to neutral, you're gonna lose that band. Again, reach those hands overhead and forward fold, stretching out those legs. Scoop the abdominals, rounding up to standing. And we're gonna come to the end of our mat, long ways. And one more time, reach the hands overhead. We've got soft knees. Inhale, exhale, diving over that giant beach ball. We're gonna walk out in 4 counts. Keeping the hips lifted, pedaling out the feet. Catch your breath. Big inhales and slow exhales here. Really warming everything up. Then lower both heels down to the mat. We're gonna round through the spine, pull into that plank position. Big deep breaths. And on the exhale, lower those knees. We're crossing the legs and sending them out front, lowering down to the mat. Let's lower all the way down and sink into that mat. Maybe windshield wiper out those knees, releasing that low back. Paying attention to your breath here, making sure that we're breathing out into the rib cage, and on the exhale, knitting those ribs together. Let's line up those feet. Send those hands to the ceiling, big inhale. On the exhale, we're gonna peel up to a seated position, and we're gonna reach for our ball. So this is like a semi-deflated ball. I think this is an 8-inch ball. And we're gonna place it right at the base of your back. So kind of line it up, it's right behind me. Hands are gonna go out front, big inhale. Exhale, we're gonna round down, sinking into that ball until those abdominals catch. Exhale to lift. And again, if you don't have a ball at home, you can easily do these without the ball. It's more there for a little tactile feedback, something to press into to wake up those muscles, to tell us where to send the work. So if you don't have the ball at home, you're still rounding down, but you really have to dig deeper to find that resistance. Let's do 3, 2, and last one. Extend the legs long, forward fold over, stretch those legs. Nice soft knees here. Really drawing your chest toward those knees, big deep breaths. And then place those feet back on the floor. We're rounding all the way down. I'm gonna reach for that ball and send it overhead, shaking out those hips, sliding those shoulder blades down and back, taking a big inhale here, keeping the knees soft. On the exhale, we're gonna peel up and over, reaching over for a stretch, little roll-ups, and then stacking the spine, slight squeeze on the ball to connect those shoulders. We're rounding down. So when we round down, watch your shoulders here. We're not like folding in half. We're keeping those shoulders down and back and only lowering down with those abdominals, rounding through the bottom of the spine. Big inhale at the bottom. Exhale, rounding up and over. Good. One more time, inhale. Exhale, we're rounding down. This time we're gonna float that right knee into tabletop. Extend that left leg long. I'm pressing into this shin with the ball, and I'm gonna press into the ball with my shin to lift up off of that mat. We're gonna switch and switch. 4, 3, 2, and last set. Knees come into the chest, lower the head, and rest. If you're not on the mat anymore, like I'm not, feel free to adjust accordingly, wiggle it out, and find that stability, find that low back connection down to the mat. Wiggle out those hips. We're gonna bring knees into tabletop and place this ball on top of the shins. Not between the shins, resting on top of the shins. I'm gonna try to do this. Hopefully I don't lose this ball. That'd be so embarrassing. Just kidding. Take a big inhale here at the bottom. On the exhale, we're gonna peel into that rib hinge and find that abdominal connection first. Slide those ribs to hips. We're gonna extend the legs out a couple of inches, and on the exhale, drag it in. Inhale, extend. Exhale, bend. 6, 5. Nice and slow, really digging in. Don't lose your ball. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Bring those knees in, remove that ball, and rest. My abs are awake, I'm sweating, I'm warm. So let's get into the rest of this. Posterior chain warming up. We're gonna lift the hips, reach for that ball, and place that ball underneath our sacrum. So above your booty, below your back. Right on that little stable pelvic bone. Kind of wiggle around, find that stability first. And we're gonna go into bridges from here. So walking those heels in, knees are bent, shoulders are down and back. Big inhale at the bottom. On the exhale, we're gonna squeeze the glutes and lift, and I'm barely not touching that ball, okay? It's not about how high your hips go. I just want you to squeeze, 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 and lift. On the next inhale, we're gonna sink into the ball, but imagine that ball is hot. We don't wanna stay there long. Exhale to lift. Inhale, sink, exhale, lift. I feel my lower abdominals really waking up here. Obviously my glutes. Let's do 6, 5, 4, last 3, 2, and last 1. Lift those hips high. We're gonna sink into that ball, then draw both knees into the chest, low back release. Again, you do not need to have a ball to do bridges at home. You can do these on the mat. You just get a little deeper release on that low back when those hips are lifted. Float that left foot down to the mat. We're extending the right leg to the ceiling and taking a minute here to really plant that left foot firmly into the floor. Squeeze that left glute. We're pointing and flexing this right foot. Feel that stretch when you point all the way down and when you flex all the way down. Really exaggerate the stretch. And then spread out your toes. You're rolling out this ankle. Breathing all the while. And reverse that circle. Our feet take us everywhere, so we gotta show them a little bit of love. Shake out that foot, all that tension out of your abductor. Nice soft bend in the knee. We're drawing small circles on the ceiling here. These look so easy. They're so not. We're sweeping out those hips, bringing some mobility and circulation where that femur is rotating in the socket. Well, I really can't do 2 things at once. Let's do 3. And then reverse that circle. Check in with that left glute. Should be burning, should be shaking on that left side, stabilizing those hips, keeping everything squeezed tight. 4. And last 1. Draw that knee into the chest. If you're really feeling yourself, you can hover that opposite leg long for a little psoas stretch. Big deep breaths, slow that heart rate. Breathing is such an integral part of this practice. Keeping that heart rate monitored. It's really nice to build some heat in your body, but I don't want you to not be breathing. We're gonna switch out these legs, press that right foot into the floor, extend that left leg to the ceiling, and we're really pressing down through that right foot, squeezing this right glute, pointing and flexing this left foot. Abs are in as always. Shoulders are rolled back. Spreading out the toes, we're rolling out this ankle. Check in with that glute. Make sure we're flexed. And reverse that roll out. Give that leg a really good shake. Loosen it up, whatever feels nice. And come to that little soft point. Make sure we're squeezing on that right side. We're drawing small circles with this left leg. 3, 2, 1, and reverse. Two, and last one, draw that knee into the chest. Extend that opposite leg long for a nice stretch. Nice. And then bring that foot back. We're gonna lower both feet down to the mat, lift the hips and remove that ball. I'm gonna send it over here. Then bring those knees back into tabletop. Hands come out to a T. I'm crossing my left knee over my right, then dropping both knees to the right. The head turns to the left for a little gentle twist. Stretching everything out. Build a little bit of heat so we can really stretch out those muscles. Using your external obliques here, you're gonna bring those knees back to tabletop, untwist and recross those legs. Then drop both knees to the opposite direction, head turns the other way. Big deep breaths. Maybe finding that you can't twist as deep in one direction as you did the other. It's important to pay attention to those imbalances in your body. And then coming back through center, knees come into the chest. I'm gonna draw some circles on the ceiling just for a moment, and then reverse. And then reach underneath my thighs and rock up to a seated position. We're gonna do a little reverse plank today. So we spend a lot of time sort of forward leaning. I'm always trying to open up that chest and strengthen your mid back. So we're all pretty familiar, I think, by now with planks. Allow me to introduce you to the reverse plank. It's really complicated. Just kidding, it's not. Hands come behind the hips. Slide the shoulders down and back. This is our flash dance moment. This is the only time we're gonna get to do it. Point those toes, big inhale at the bottom. Exhale, we're gonna lift the chest. Feel that stretch along the sides of the chest. Nice soft elbows. Squeezing the glutes. You hear that shake in my voice because it's hard. One more big deep breath. Exhale, lower those hips with control. Sweep the hands overhead, forward fold. Catch your breath. If that felt like, oh my gosh, way too challenging, I need an option, you've got options. You can always lift your hips not as high. It can be this. You can always come down to your forearms and slide your shoulders down and back. We can move into steps and gradually make our way to a full reverse plank. You could also have a bolster behind your back and really open up your chest. So depending on your flexibility and mobility, listen to your body and don't force it. If you feel like this is straining your chest and uncomfortable, lose it, do something different, push in a child's pose, whatever your body needs. We're gonna do one more reverse plank here and hold it for 5 big deep breaths. So I'm gonna start legs extended, toes pointed, shoulders rolled down and back. Nice proud chest. Big inhale, and on the exhale, lift those hips. Find your breath. Find your focus, close your eyes, settle in. 3 more breaths. Last big breath here. Exhale, control the lower the hips. Sweep those hands overhead and stretch. Shake it out, awesome job. We're gonna finish our little ab series here with our ball. So we're lowering down to the mat, rounding down. We're gonna float the knees into tabletop and place that ball on the top of the shins, just this, good. And I'm peeled up here. So if you have any neck injuries, you can do this exercise with your head down. I definitely don't want you straining your neck. If not, if you're feeling nice and limber in your neck today, go ahead and peel up to that rib hinge. On the inhale, I'm gonna reach arms and legs in opposite directions. On the exhale, we crunch. Inhale to reach, really reach those limbs. Exhale, crunch. You've got 8. If you feel yourself pitching into your low back or wanting to arch into your low back, you always have the option to send those legs a little bit higher. I don't want you in that low back at all. Last 3, 2, and last 1. We're gonna bring the knees into the chest, lower the head, catch our breath just for a couple of breaths. Then get into our scissor kicks. So slow your heart rate here, rock out that low back, grab a sip of water if it feels nice. And then you're gonna open up those arms. My ball is in my right hand. I'm gonna extend my right leg to the ceiling, hover my left leg over the floor, and peel up to that rib hinge. So we're lifted up. We're gonna figure 8, pass this ball between the legs. Back and forth. Can you do this without a ball? Absolutely. But why would you when it's so much more fun to feel like a circus monkey? Let's do 4, 3, 2, and one more set. Good, then send that ball down, knees into your chest, and we're gonna reach for this band and do a little 3-way stretch on our legs. So if you don't have a band, you don't need it. We'll have modifications. But if you do have a band, we're gonna rock up to seated, and we're gonna place the middle of this band over the top of your foot, and then wrap the edges around. So we've got a nice little secure foot here. Sitting up really tall, my opposite knee is bent. I'm gonna round down and send this right leg up to the ceiling. Really pulling on this band, I'm gonna send it toward the wall behind me. Press that big toe into that band. Little hamstring stretch. Opposite leg can be bent or long, whatever your body needs today. Ooh, that is tight. You're gonna feel it all the way through your hamstring, your calf, your ankle. Keep that little micro bend in this knee. We don't want to be locking out our joints. And on the next exhale, we're going to place both ends of this band into my right hand, place my left fingertips on my left hip, and we're opening up that right leg for an inner thigh stretch while I keep my left hip pressed down. So I'm not rolling over. I'm keeping this nice balance in my pelvis and just allowing the weight of gravity to press this leg toward the floor. Try to relax your glutes, soften all those leg muscles, just allow your leg to stretch. Press that big toe into the band. Check back in with that hip alignment. On the next exhale, we're dragging this leg back through center. I'm gonna send the ends of the band into my left hand. Right hand comes to the mat, and I'm gonna sickle my ankle. So I'm just gonna turn my foot over on itself, extend the opposite leg long, and just cross the midline. Wow, that just fires up your IT band, your piriformis. Ooh, the shakiness. Big deep breaths. Try not to roll all the way over your hip here. Try to keep this hip planted and just submit to the stretch. I'm feeling it with you. Big deep breaths. Don't worry, when this is done, we get to do the other side. So we're not going anywhere for a minute. You can lose that sickle in your ankle if it makes your ankle feel uncomfortable in the least, and maybe lift and lower that leg, kind of flossing out that fascia, trying to find the best little sweet spot for you where you really need a stretch. One more big deep breath here. On the exhale, send that leg back up. We're holding on to the band, so the ends of the band, and we're gonna rock up to seated and untwist that band. We're gonna go right into this other side. So top of the band goes on top of the foot. Let's wrap it around. Both ways. So we've got a nice little handle. I'm gonna bend this knee and lower down. So we're rounding down through the spine and setting this leg back for that hamstring stretch, sending it to the wall. Woo! This side is tighter. For me, maybe not for you. Press that toe into the band. Take a couple big deep breaths here. Maybe it feels nice to have this opposite leg extended. Maybe it feels better to have it bent. If it's bent, really firmly press that foot into the floor to deepen this stretch. We've got 2 more little variations on this stretch. We're in the home stretch. I couldn't help myself, I'm sorry. Open up that hip. Opposite hand goes to the opposite hip. We're pressing that hip down and opening up this inner thigh for a stretch. On the exhale, bringing it back through center, extending that leg long, turning this ankle over on itself so you see the top of my foot and then the bottom of my foot. We're crossing the midline, finding that IT band, woo, and embracing the shakes here. Think of how good this is for our body. Breathe through the discomfort. Find that sweet spot on this side, whatever feels best in your body. Maybe keeping a little micro bend in that opposite knee if it feels nice. And then bring that leg up. We're gonna lower back or lift back to seated and untwist that band and forward fold. So just hands overhead, big inhale, exhale into that stretch. Excellent. We've done a lot of work on our abdominals, so we're gonna work that back. Let's do a little prone work. Let's go onto our bellies and stretch our back. So I'm gonna pick up my ball again. And again, it's important that it's a little deflated. We want a little give here. If this was really, really hard plastic ball, it'd be a little bit painful. We're gonna place it on our solar plexus. So right at the top of your sternum. We're gonna place that ball and lower down on top of that ball and try to collapse over that ball. Pretty immediately, if you feel like you're gonna throw up, just keep breathing. You'll be okay. You won't throw up. Lower back down, big deep breaths. Press the tops of your feet into the floor, anchor your pelvic bone, and we're breathing around that ball. Imagining sending the breath to your back body, to your side body. And just creating a little bit of space in the back of the ribs. We're gonna send those hands out like a high Y from the corners of the mat. And on the inhale, I'm gonna lift my chest and chin. On the exhale, we're collapsing over. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Let's do 2. And last one. Then widen the knees to the outside edges of the mat. We're pressing back to our child's pose, placing our hands on this ball, really rolling out those shoulders. We're gonna roll this ball to the right side of the mat, pressing into the ball with our left hand to open up that left side body. Then roll this ball back through center and open up that opposite side. Feel this stretch all along your ribs, underneath your armpit, your shoulder. Then roll this ball all the way back through center and send it to this side. Now that we're nice and warm, we're gonna do a couple cat-cows just to finish up. So stacking those bones, knees are under our hips, wrists are under our shoulders. We're gonna inhale to drop the navel and lift the gaze. And exhale, rounding into that spine. Inhale. And exhale. Come to that flat back. We're gonna tuck the toes and lift the hips to that downward facing dog, pedaling out the feet. And we're gonna end with a little hip stretch today because I'm always trying to open up our hips. Let's sweep that right leg up to the ceiling. We're gonna draw it forward and bend the knee and settle into your little pigeon pose, untucking the toes on the opposite side, lowering down. The real icing on the cake here is to shift your hip back and forth and find that sweet spot that's pressing on a bruise and hold pressure there. So that's different in every body. Maybe for you it looks like being half rolled over on your side. Whatever it takes to get the release you need, listen to your body here. And maybe it's just continuing to wiggle through it, which is what my body wants today, so. Breathe it out. And then hands come down to the mat. We're gonna tuck that toe on the back leg and lift that right leg up to the ceiling and switch it out. Left leg to the sky. Lower it down with control. Sink into that hip and maybe wiggle it out. Find your sweet spot. And settle into that sweet spot. Lower all the way down if it feels nice. If it doesn't feel nice, you can keep your chest lifted. Give your body what it needs. Excellent. I'm gonna place my hands on the mat and sit back on my seat and come into a little zigzag leg. We're gonna end with a little side body stretch. So one hand comes down to the mat. I'm gonna reach that opposite hand up to the ceiling and collapse over for a stretch. And then windmill that arm over for a quick little counter stretch. I love a side body opening. Let's switch out those legs. Opposite hand down to the mat, reach this hand up and over, and then swing it back. Nice. I hope you enjoyed this gentle little movement session today. We got a little sweat in, but also brought some mobility and flexibility to the body. We'll see you next time.